Hi everyone, my name is Megan. I'm the Community Engagement Manager at the Clay Studio, and today for our Clay at Home, we thought we would explore different tools that you might have at home to make textures on clay or any sculpting material. So to get us started, we created a texture bingo to help you find different materials around your home that could make different shapes and patterns on clay. So to just get us started, I thought I would share some of the things I found around my home. Got a couple different writing utensils here. This marker has sort of bullseye shape on one end, and then it's got a just regular circle on the other side. So I also have a pencil here that has a point that I can make a tiny dot with, or maybe you could explore the eraser side of it too. I've also got a colored pencil that has a flat end to it and then the pointy end as well. Circles can also be made with straws. You can use the end of the straw to make one of these open circles. I also have a lid to a milk container that has lots of cool tiny lines that might make some fun textures on clay. I've got a paper clip that I opened up, but it has a semicircle on one side, or I also can use the end of it to make some tiny dots. I've also got a plastic fork that could be used to make multiple lines. I've got a spoon that if you use the edge, you can make sort of a semicircle shape with that. I've got a chopstick that could be used to make one of these small circles. You could also make a single line with this as well, or if you had a toothpick, it could do something similar. I've got a plastic knife that could make some cool mini zigzags. I've got a letter M magnet. I've got different letter magnets on my fridge, but you might also have lettered pasta or any other raised letters on things that could be cool on clay. I don't have super exciting pasta at home, but this shell has some cool lines that could be fun. But if you have bow tie pasta or other shapes, that could be fun to try on clay. And let's see, I've also got a screw that has sort of these lines that can make these many tiny lines on clay. Coins have different shapes on them. So some of them have sort of tiny lines on the edges, or you could see what the texture of the coin might look like impressed in clay. And my last thing I have here is a soda tab that could make an oval on clay. So lots of different things. Definitely explore all the different texture making tools you might have in your house and challenge your friends or siblings to play along with you to see who can get bingo first with all the different textures in your home. So once you've collected some textures, we can get started with using those textures on clay. For today's project, you'll need your texture tools, and then I'm also gonna work on top of an opened up cereal box as my surface so that the clay doesn't stick to the table. I'm using regular clay today, but you could also use, you could even use cookie dough today, you could use a salt dough, Play-Doh, any type of sculpting material would work for this project. I'm gonna walk you through how to make little clay medallions, but you could also make any different types of thing using these different texture tools. So to get started, I'm going to use my clay and pound it out into a slab. I'm just going to use the palm of my hand to flatten it out, but you could also use a rolling pin here. And you can make these pretty thin, maybe about the thickness of your pinky. And once you get your slab nice and even, you can start exploring what some of those textures look like on the clay. So I'm gonna grab my fork first to make some different lines. So I can make 4 lines at once with using the fork. And grab my spoon to make sort of semicircles. I've got my magnet M that I can use to press into it. The back side has that magnet in the way, so I should probably actually use the other side of it so that I get more of an M shape. We got a little M on there. I can use my marker to get some fun little bullseye shapes. I've got my bobby pin, I could actually use for a squiggly line on the top, or I've got a straight edge, got a pointy end, and I also could use the back end of it to sort of carve into the clay as well. So lots of different uses with the bobby pin. I've got that milk lid that I could roll to make sort of small lines, but I could also use it to make some different textures using the end of the edge of the container. Got my straw that I can make some different types of designs with. So definitely explore the different things that you've collected with the textures, and when you're ready, you can go ahead and take a cookie cutter if you have one, and find an interesting place that you've made a pattern to cut out a little medallion. So I've got one here that's got some cool lines on it. If you don't have a cookie cutter, you could also try using a toilet paper roll as your cookie cutter. If it doesn't get stuck inside there, you might want to use one of your tools like your spoon to sort of pop it out. But that works for making little circles. And once you have your circles cut out, if you want to make them into pendants, you could poke a hole using your straw on the top. If you don't have a straw, you could try a chopstick or another rounded tool that you collected. So different ways you can make the circles. Your other option is, if you want to just sort of start with a shape in the beginning, you can grab a smaller piece of clay to pound out into your circle and then put your patterns on. So we'll try the screw on the edge here. Maybe I'll try a coin to make sort of a different shape. Well, I also collected some keys that might make some fun shapes. So lots of different options here. And then you can either leave it flat and attach a pin to it later when it dries as a little pin, or you can go ahead and poke a hole in those too. So lots of different options, just some new ways to maybe find some fun textures in your home. If you're using clay, you can let it dry out to be fired later. If you're using air dry clay, just let it air dry. Salt dough would also be an air dry, or you can bake it in the oven a little bit. If you're making cool textured cookies, you can go ahead and follow your baking instructions for those. And if you want to, after they're dried, you can go ahead and add paint, glaze. You could probably even color them with markers if you wanted to. So I hope you guys enjoy exploring textures in your home, and I can't wait to see what you all make.